Peace and power, black family. This is your host, Raheem Shabazz, and we are back from our quick commercial break. And I want to tell everybody to visit our website. We have our new apparel, Wingy Apparel. And for those that don't already know, Wingy is the movement. Wingy is a Swahili word that means abundance. And abundance begins in the mind. Wingy is the outfitters for freedom fighters everywhere. And this is a 100% black owned company. So remember what Marcus Garvey said? He said, buy black, be black, and think black, and everything else will work itself out. So we are back. And before we went to our commercial break, we was going to talk about homeschooling. And I know that many parents are seeing the deplorable conditions of public schools, and they are resilient in their approach to make sure that their children have the best education that they can receive, right? I wanted to know, and part of that is taking their kids out of the public school system and homeschooling them. So I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on homeschooling?
I love the idea of homeschool if you have the resources to do so. Parents aren't paid to homeschool their children. There are grants and resources that are available, so it's not an option that can be exercised by all. But I love the idea of homeschool because it creates an intimate environment for learning. Mm-hmm. You know, it creates an opportunity for the child to actively engage in projects that they normally would engage in a regular public school.
Absolutely.
One of the things, I think that I see a lot more parents exercising the charter option over homeschool because of the lack of resources or funding. You know, everybody can't not work, you know, and stay home to educate their children. But I would love to see more parents who are homeschooling potentially recruit, you know, a child or two from a low income school. Mm-hmm. And offer, you know, your services. It's like, you know, have a conversation with a parent, you know, about what it is you offer and how their child could benefit. Because students who are homeschooled, they grow in such great significance academically.
Yeah. Statistically, it says that those that are homeschooled achieve a higher academic success than mm-hmm. those who go to traditional schools.
And that is true because of the intimacy. And, you know, with that being said, you know, it's a given. So when you see teachers in Los Angeles who are striking because they are forced to teach 40 students per class, wow. It's like, you know, how can you hold me accountable for academic success of 40 children when I spend so much of that time trying to manage the classroom? Mm-hmm. You know, so class size, I guess what I'm getting at, makes a tremendous difference. And I know that that's not something that's offered in the largest school district in Atlanta. You know, they don't cater to that piece of research being an advantage to low performing children. Mm. You know, the classrooms are packed, you know, with students with extreme deficits. So you're not seeing the type of gains that you could if the classes were reduced in size.
And what you say is real profound and real key when you talk about homeschooling and having that intimacy mm-hmm. between the parent and the student. And like you said, you gotta be in a position to do that. And a lot of parents are not in a position, but that's okay, because when you take your son or your daughter to the grocery store mm-hmm. and you're shopping, that is a life lesson. Mm-hmm. When you're cooking and you're measuring, you know, you're teaching mathematics.
That's
so
true.
Everything is a life lesson. And whether you know it or not, you actually homeschooling.
That is true, but you have to think about the mindset of the parent. If you have one of those parents that are saying, hey son, come here, I'm doing some measurements, you know, come and assist me, you know, with baking this cake, or, you know, pulling this homemade white sauce together for dinner. you have to think about the kids who are truly suffering. Are there home cooked meals being made in those homes? So the conversation goes from scraping up coins to possibly going across the street to the wing spot or whatever fast food is offered in that community. Not just that, when they get, food stamps, the EBT card, it's like, food stamps is nothing to be ashamed of. It's public assistance for those who need it, for the time. I don't believe in, it being a lifelong benefit. However, there's a financial piece that I would love, to promote the parents that I serve to assist their children with as it relates to budgeting. We're going to get this monthly. We have to monitor how we spend so that we can sustain to the end of the month. But those aren't the type of conversations that are being had. That's why parent engagement is extremely important in the school and communities, because those parents that aren't cooking or may not even know the importance of measurements or have that financial literacy piece that can assist them in removing themselves from the environment that they're in. People need to come in and have these types of conversations with them to assist their mental capacity as it relates to growing beyond their circumstance.
That's the key, assisting them in their mental capacity. And speaking of mental capacity, right, we know that education is very crucial to breaking the generational curse of poverty,
yes.
right? And as a teacher, how can other teachers or parents, the community, the stakeholders in the community, how can they incorporate education and entrepreneurship so that it's one and that it's helpful to the next generation?
Well, I would say that first you have to support the local businesses in your community. You have to make an undying effort to ensure that you're supporting these black businesses and these people who are trying to be the example for what the Powernomics movement is said to be about. Recycling of the black dollar, because when we can continue to support other people, they don't market to us.
That's right.
That whole Gucci campaign, it's like if they had someone in a seat to say, this is not going to go over so well. The lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion in these businesses that we so quickly support. Start looking for opportunities to support, black-owned businesses that will hire your children, that can, allow you to see how economic growth is possible when you take a chance on yourself and your people.
That is very much true, because as an entrepreneur myself, I definitely know the struggle of being an entrepreneur. And it's all about community support.
Oh, yeah.
And for the last 13 years, I haven't worked a traditional job for anybody. I have been my own boss, and it's very rewarding when you can actually set your own timetable of what time you're going to work and what time you're not going to work. And what I like to tell people is that you might work 40 hours a week, but when you're going to work, I get to choose the 60 to 80 hours if I have to,
right,
that I'm going to work. So yeah, I think entrepreneurship is the way for us, and it's one part of our liberation in addition to the education, and it goes hand in hand.
Well, I too am a social entrepreneur.
Okay.
I am a nonprofit organization, which is what Poe Righteous Teacher falls up under. I sell garment and pens and stuff to provide free reading interventions or scholarships for reading intervention for minority boys over summer. And imagine not having the type of support that you desire when you are looking to do something to eliminate deficits in reading deficiencies. As it relates to children. It's like you would expect for people to jump on board like, oh my God, this is a phenomenal cause. Let me support, her efforts. But you don't get that. So that's why it's important for our people to support our people in business, in service efforts, because these are the people that are on the ground to try to do something to make a better way for everybody.
So y'all heard that. The sister has a nonprofit organization that deals with literacy in the black community, so we need to go out there and we need to support her organization. We're going to come back from a real quick commercial break, and when we do, she is going to give us the website and give us some closing words and how the Necessary Black family can support her endeavors so that we can make the next generation better than the one that we came from. Peace and Black Power family. We'll be right back. This is Raheem Shabazz.
Persons interested in broadcasting a commercial can reach us via email at necessaryblacknesspodcast@gmail.com. Necessary Blackness is distributed on all major podcast platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, iHeart, SoundCloud, Podomatic, and Google Play. We'll also promote your business and product across our various social media networks, reaching over 100,000 people daily.